back to my channel. So today I came back with this tutorial, and I wanted to make it more in depth. And because I was looking back at my old videos and I realized that I didn't really explain much of what I was doing. I didn't really explain the process and why, the meaning behind what I was doing. So I like this tutorial because it's fall appropriate for actually any time of the year, and I really liked it. And I hope you guys will find this tutorial helpful. And if you guys want to see how I got this look, then just keep watching. So before you apply your foundation, you always want to moisturize your face so that your foundation doesn't look flaky or too dry, your skin look too dry. So the one that I have been loving lately is the ThisWorks In Transit Camera Close-Up, which is a mask, moisturizer, and primer in one. So basically you could just use this as your primer, but I'm going to use the combination of the Professional as well and this one. But I really like this because it really does moisturize your face, not to the point where you look like a big grease ball, but just enough. Professional minimizes your pores, and this is a good primer to use because it basically fills in your pores and creates like a smooth canvas for your foundation. So if you don't moisturize and prime correctly, so that's why sometimes your foundation may look a little bit flaky or bring out like your pores and things like that, because you don't do these steps prior to the foundation. So it's always important to prime and moisturize your face, and then afterwards you will apply your foundation with a damp beauty blender or sponge, because if you don't, then it's not gonna sink into your skin as well. So you always want to have a damp beauty blender sponge. And the foundation that I'm using is my all-time favorite matte and poreless foundation, the shade 128. And when applying your foundation, you want to do dabbing motions like this. So dab instead of swiping it like this, because then your foundation is going to look streaky. You also want to bring your foundation down a little bit like this, so you don't get that orange line right there. You don't have to bring it all the way down to your neck, but just all the way over here. So I don't like to apply too much foundation in my under eye area, because we will go in with concealer, which will highlight that part of your face and lift the bags or darkness that you might have. So you always want to apply it in a V type of shape and not like this, because if you apply like this, it's only going to lift this part up and not all of this. Also, when you're putting in your concealer, you want to do dabbing motions as well. And for this specific sponge, I'm using the Real Technique sponge, and I like to flip the thing around and use this like type of tapered edge, just because it makes it easier to go in under your eye. This, you also want to set your concealer, because if you don't, then it'll crease up really badly and you'll just look like a great big, your foundation, your concealer is just gonna be a big mess. And so for that, I'm using the contour kit by Anastasia, and I'm using this yellow shade, which will further brighten up that concealer. If you use a shade the same color, it's not going to have the same brightening effect, so that's why I use the yellow powder. You also want to set your foundation, because like I said, it's just the same thing. You don't want it going all over the place and to stay in your skin and not move around during the day. So I'm going to be using the Infallible Pro Matte powder, and I'm just going to be using a big large fluffy brush for that. When you apply your powder, you don't want to swirl it around because that's just going to move your foundation around. You just want to do patting motions like this, and you don't even have to apply that much, just in the areas where you didn't apply your concealer. So now we're going to move on to our eyes, and you always want to prime your eyes just so the eyeshadows will have more pigmentation and so your eyelids won't crease. And you don't necessarily have to use an eyeshadow primer. If you're out of your favorite eyeshadow primer, you can always use a concealer. This is been my go-to primer lately because it's just easy. Like, you don't have to take out any more products. You can just use your concealer. And I like to blend it out with a Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush, and I just do it like this. I do patting motions, and then when I have less product, I just swipe. Because if you swipe directly, it'll go all the way over here. Want to set any primer or concealer that you use as a primer, because that way the eyeshadows will blend in more seamlessly. So my favorite go-to color to set my primer has been this shade Charmer in the Tartelette Bloom palette. It's right here, and I've clearly hit pan because it's my favorite, and I just use like a small fluffy brush for that. So you always want to start with a transition shade, and for my favorite transition shade is again from the Tartelette Bloom palette. I feel like this palette is just so versatile, but it's the Smarty Pants right here. You wanna, no matter what colors you use, I always try to use like a light brown because you can just blend it out with any other color. So I just use a big fluffy brush for that. You don't have to be too precise for that with it, because it's just gonna be a transition color to make the other colors blend in easier. Because if you go in with a dark color first, then it's gonna be super hard for you to blend it in. It's just easier to use a transition shade. So I go in from the start of my eye and then start slowly moving in to the middle and then the end, and you can bring it out a little bit, it doesn't matter because it's just a transition shade, as long as you don't extend it too far out, because then it'll look weird. And then just do the same, start at the beginning of your eye and just start blending. The key to any eye look is just to blend, because as long as you blend, you're good. For the transition shade, I like to bring it up a little bit higher, not just stay right here. Okay, so now that we have applied our transition shade, we can go in to a darker color, which is going to be the Meet Matrimony color in Matt Kumar. And I'm applying this shade a little bit lower, not as high up as the other one. Once you apply it to the crease like this, the darker color, you can always, with the excess product, you can always just put it up here to the upper crease. So they both blend more seamlessly together. But it's not the same thing as applying it straight onto the crease, because it doesn't blend as easily. So now for the lid shade, we're going to be using this one from the Alice Through the Looking Glass palette. It's this one in Salison Grum. You can always use your finger to increase the pigmentation in a shadow. Apply my lid shade, I always go back in with that fluffy brush that we use on our crease and blend both of those colors together, the lid shade and the crease shade, just so there's no just so there isn't a harsh line. Colors that I use on my crease, I always usually use them on my lower lash line with the smudger brush, and that's what I'll be doing right now. And start off with the crease shade and go up to the darker color that you use. You always want to do use the same steps as you did in your crease. So I'm starting off with Smarty Pants. Using a little bit of the matte matrimony palette thing, and use the same steps, slowly build it. To make your eyes appear bigger, I always highlight my inner corner of my eye, and it also just completes the look. And I've been loving this Hard Candy palette, and the colors are really, really pigmented. And my favorite one to use is this one right here. Oh my god, it's lovely. I love it. I love it. I'm so obsessed with it. And you can wet your brush if you'd like to increase the pigmentation, but I always use you can use the MAC Fix Plus or just eye drops or anything like that. Just wet your brush, but I usually use my primer water. You see how it just instantly opened up my eye like that? See the difference? So that's why I always love to do this step. So I already did my eyelashes and eyeliner off camera, and I applied eyeliner on one side, but I want to explain how to do it on the other. So I already started off by applying a little bit on the outer corner and slowly moving into the inner corner, but always applying more product on the outer. Now with the transition shade that we used and the smudger brush, we're going to be using a little bit more on just to make the eyeliner blend in more with the shades that we've been using, for the eyeliner to not look so harsh. And then I just apply my mascara. Now I always contour and highlight after this, and I'm using my contour kit by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm going to be using these 3 shades, and I use the Morphe M530 brush for this, and it is the most amazing brush to contour with because it doesn't make you look too harsh, and it just makes it blend so easily. So I always start like right here, starting from here, and bring it slowly to over here in circular motions. And you want to start kind of from where your ear starts, right here, and then stop right here. Blush, I have been obsessed with this Elizabeth Moss Mott blush that I got in my IPSY bag, and for this you just tap. You can use the same brush that you used for your contour and just apply it to right here, the apples, and then slowly bring it up to the contour to blend it in together. You want to smile while you're putting it on, because when you smile, your cheeks are brought up. So once you stop smiling, if you apply it there, it's gonna make your eyes look very saggy. Now after that, I like to highlight, and sometimes when I want to make my highlight really intense, like I told you guys the tip with the wetting your brush, I use the Smashbox primer water, and I just use a regular fan brush, and I let it dry a little bit, because if you don't let it not dry, but sometimes when I'm in a rush, I just tap it on the edge of my arm, because if you don't do this, it'll make your highlight look very streaky. So I just dip it into my Mary Luminizer, which is my favorite highlight ever, and you just apply it right here to where the sun usually hits your face. So your nose, the tip of your nose, bridge of your nose, Cupid's bow. And sometimes when I apply my highlight like this, just doing the line like that, it looks it makes a harsh line, so sometimes I like to bring it down like this. So then after that, I like to use the same brush that we used to contour, and then I like to go back in and mix everything together just to make it blend more seamlessly. And sometimes I like to bake under my contour just to make the line a little bit more sharp. And I start where my lips separate, so right here, and then I bring it all the way straight like that. And then I also like to set my laugh lines, because if I don't, then it'll create laugh lines. So I just do this. The more time you wait, the more it'll become sharp, and I don't really want it to be sharp, so I'm gonna start dusting it off. As soon as you start seeing the line disappear, because you don't want that harshness underneath to show. And then after that, I just apply my lipstick or lip liner, but today I'm going to be using a lip liner. I found these at Walmart, not Walmart, I found these at Ulta for $3, and so it's an amazing deal, and it's comparable to even the MAC lip liners that I own. And this one is in Peekaboo Neutral, and it's by NYX, and it has become my go-to, and I love it so much. So now after that, you are done with this tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth tutorial. I really wanted to explain deeply what I was doing. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.